Hey, we get it. You don't want to be hearing a Progressive commercial right now, so let us tell you something you do want to hear. No one is funnier than you. People laugh just thinking about the things you've said. I'm laughing at one of them right now. Coworkers repeat your jokes at the office, but they're never as good as when you tell them, and shame on them for trying. There. Don't you feel better? You'll also feel better knowing you could save when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Although I'm sure you'd have a funnier way to say that. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Once upon a time in a convenience store, a woman asked, "Which zero-calorie drink will I like more?" The cashier said, "I have a thought. Coke Zero Sugar always hits the spot." The taste made her heart fill with laughter, and with her Coke Zero Sugar, she lived happily ever after. Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, unbelievably delicious.
No trip to the store is complete without the unbelievably delicious zero-calorie taste of Coke Zero Sugar. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Christopher Media, let's make some noise. Welcome to Beer Nuts, a weekly excursion into the world of craft beer, brought to you by MichiganBeerGuide.com. And now, here are the Beer Nuts.
Welcome to Beer Nuts number 78. Today's episode will be on old ales, and we've got 4 Beer Nuts here tonight. Unfortunately, Christopher cannot be with us, but we have Uncle Pete. Welcome, Uncle Pete.
All right, glad to be here.
We have Dugout.
Hey, how are we doing tonight?
And we have Greg.
Hey, everybody.
And yours truly, JR. So, going into the holiday season here, and one of our favorite styles, most of the Beer Nuts really enjoy a nice old ale. So, that's what we'll be reviewing tonight, old ales, and we'll be talking a little bit about that style. But before we do that, as we always do, we start off the show with a quote. I think Dugout has tonight's quote related to old ales, so go ahead, Doug.
All right, here we go. Beer is the answer, but I can't remember the question.
Well, if you have an old ale, you might not remember the answer either.
Or care.
That too.
Or care. So and I had another one. Why am I getting older and wider instead of older and wiser? So anyway, we always invite our listeners to kick back, open up a cold one, and just relax and enjoy a beer. We're not pretentious. Whether you're a Coors Light, Miller Lite, Bud Light drinker, doesn't matter what you enjoy. Our mission here is to spread the gospel of better beers and expose more people to more good beer. And we think if you try them all, you'll fall in love with some good craft offerings. So we're going to get right into things tonight. So pop open up that cold one and join us. And my first beer, I'm going to start off the show because since Chris couldn't be here, we had this one earmarked for him. So I'm taking one for the team, and so is my liver. But we're going to start off with a brewery dear to Chris's heart from his hometown of Kalamazoo. We're going to start with Bell's Brewing, Third Coast Old Ale, and I happen to have from my cellar a 2014. It's aged 3 years, which is good for old ales. That's why we call them old ales. They're traditionally aged. So I just popped this one. We were actually going to review this beer a few weeks ago on our Cellar Raid episode, but we had enough beers and didn't have to. So perfect that we saved it for tonight. So I'm pouring it. And I'm getting a nice, really nice there. I can already smell the aroma. So I'm getting a very a dark brown pour here. Can't really see through this. At the very top, maybe you get a little bit of reddish brown, but for the most part, it's dark enough that you can't see through it. I got a nice, not too thick of a head, but a solid little white tan, beige head. And it's hanging on pretty good, so it's not just disappearing. So there's some good carbonation in this, and I'm going to start off with the aroma. The aroma is definitely a lot of malt and caramel, a little bit of sweetness. Very little, no hop presence in the aroma. So I'm going to go ahead and taste this. Oh yeah. So. Definitely some sweet caramel malt, flavors, and then it goes into some complex dark fruits. And there's a little bit of bitterness at the very end on the finish, maybe just a tad of hop finish left in this, but not much. But it's very, very enjoyable. This is a style, one of my favorite styles. So I wish Christopher was here because he would be really enjoying this. So, Third Coast Old Ale here in Michigan, where we produce the show. This beer is pretty easy to find. It comes out every year. This particular bottle was bottled on September 5th of 2014. So that tells me that, they make this in September. It probably is, going right into the fall season. Perfect time to buy this. So what I like to do is buy 2 6-packs and enjoy a few of them and then put a few in the cellar. Although I've been slacking because when I went to find this beer a couple weeks ago, I only had 2 left, so I'm almost out of 14s. But I'm sure that most of you here, most of my colleague beer nuts here have had this before, so I'm going to let someone else chime in on their experience having Third Coast Old Ale. Anybody else? Pete?
Yeah, I had just had one the other night. I had bought 2 beers for the show. One is the old stock that I'm reviewing later tonight, but the other was the Bell's Third Coast, and boy, it really was enjoyable. And that beer has sort of remained the same over the years. Some batches get tweaked and changed, but that one always to me seems to be as steady as can be. It's always a great beer.
Yeah, I've had it as well. The one thing I like to say about it is it's a nice switch up, from the stouts. We get into the stouts or we get into the cellar raids and all the high ABVs. While old ales are typically a little higher ABV than your, like your typical brown ales and IPAs and stuff like that. They're much more of a warming beer. They're usually not as hoppy, more malty, but it's the warming kind of ale that when the cold weather sets in, you like to sit and, sip on them just like you would with a nice stout or a porter. But it has a whole different character to it. So it's a nice switch up is what I'm getting at.
Yep, and I'm going to read from the label a little bit about this beer. It says, Third Coast Old Ale, an ale for those who appreciate complexity and vintage character. Fill a snifter and enjoy it now, or commit some bottles to the cellar to test your patience. And this is a 10.2%. That's on the high end. Typically, old ales are 6 to 9% ABV. Just a little bit about the old ale category. It's classified as a strong British ale. Appearance, because age is a part of this style's brewing process, its characteristics are wide-ranging. Aging along with oxidation can significantly darken the color of the beer, and in this case can run from a light amber into a much darker reddish brown. If aged long, it may appear opaque, but it can also be quiet clear. The head should be cream to light tan color, will most likely be small and quick to disappear, another effect of aging and oxidation. Aroma should be noticeably malty, sweet, with hints of fruity esters. Dried fruit, caramel, nut, toffee, alcohol, and molasses are all common and create a nose of high complexity. Mouthfeel, old ale tends to be low to mid carbonation depending on age and conditioning. Heavy on the palate, almost chewy, that not necessarily so. Alcohol warmth should be noticeable in most examples. And finally, taste should be let malt complexity and character shine, with possible molasses-like nutty and caramely complexities. Fruit esters may be present and create a vinous quality. Chocolate and roasty characters may be present, but should be kept relatively low. Alcohol should be noticeable but not overwhelming. Examples also have the possibility of showcasing some tart notes depending on if Brett took part in the aging process. So there you have it.
Third Coast. Not to be confused with West Coast or the East Coast or the Gulf Coast for that matter. It's the Great Lakes Coast.
Okay, guys, I'm going to have pause the show now. Chris just said hold on, so let me see what that's about. I hope we didn't miss that.
He hadn't hit record.
Wait, see where we're at. Let me see. Okay, green light. We're okay. He just said that he put a stop to the nonsense in the background. So okay. So that's about it for Third Coast Old Ale. I'm really enjoying this, and Christopher, this one's for you. And I'll have one more beer later in the shows. So I think next up we've got we're going to turn it over to Uncle Pete, who's got a different old ale to share with us. Go ahead, Pete.
All right, thanks, JR. That was really good, by the way, what you read about the Third Coast Old Ale. What I've got here is Southern Tier Brewing out of New York called Old Man Winter, and it's a year old, actually. This one was bottled November of 2016, actually October of 16, so it's a little over a year old. It's a 7.5% ABV. Alcohol, and it says it's brewed with 3 varieties of hops and 2 types of malts, and they've been brewing it since 2003. So let me pop one open. I've never had this particular beer before, so I'm going to pour it up here and let's check it out. All right. It pours a very nice clear brown color with some amber hues on the edges as you hold it to the light. Just an off-white, thick, foamy head that's retaining very well, actually. It's not dissipating very quickly at all. Let's take a smell. I get a lot of malt on the nose. Some hop presence there. Very bready aroma with malt. Maybe just a little bit of roastiness in there. Let's take a taste. Wow. I'm impressed. Wow, this is very nice. It has immediately very bold flavor on the palate. Very malty and bready, just as it was on the aroma, with a real thick sweetness and a very long-lasting as it spreads across the palate, and it seems to be like a very long-lasting sweet flavor, picking out, let me try it again. You know, I did let this warm up as well. I only purchased it about 2 hours ago, and I only put it in the fridge for about 1 hour. So, and it's been sitting out for probably half hour since I was getting ready. And so it's probably around 50 degrees or so, 55. So it's warmed up a little bit, which is okay. But yeah, very nice. Not very alcoholic. I'd say overall, this is a really nice, chewable, malty, sweet, very malt complex beer. There is a lingering bitterness now that I give it a chance to sit there for a while, which isn't usually expected of an old ale. You know, the hops aren't usually the dominant player, and they're not dominant here, but they are back there in the background slightly, which is pleasant. I like that. But this long-lasting head is doing very well. It's very thick and creamy. Very nice. I don't have any other info, JR, as far as from the website or anything. But has anybody else had this one, Southern Tier, Old Man Winter?
I have not, and I've been to Southern Tier, but to the brewery. I think we've talked about that visit a few times, but I haven't had that particular one, so I can look it up.
I've passed it on the shelf numerous times, and I'm glad I didn't pass it this time.
See if I can find something on there.
Well, there's laces up on the glass real nice, too. I mean, there is just foam laced all around the glass from the top down.
Oh, here it is, Old Man Winter Ale, okay. Oh, yes, I'm 21.
Oh, don't you just love that?
So, yeah, it says it's 7.5%. It says our winter offering is here to quell your shivers and get you through the coldest of nights. A rich marriage of hops and barley to cast light upon the evening and melt your mind out of the snowdrifts. Old Man Winter's earthy hue and thickness lace around the glass, inviting you to linger in its warmth and share the spirits of the season with your friends and family. A deceptively strong brew. It's best to sit and ponder with this old man sip by sip. 2017 rebrand, same great beer, beautiful new look. So I guess they've revamp their packaging. Brown with ruby hues. Ale yeast, 3 varieties of hops, 2 varieties of malts. Roasted malts in the aroma, a touch of smoked pepper, some floral hops. Flavor, hints of bittersweet cocoa, nutty, defined malts and balancing hops, earth. Moderate bitterness, medium body. Serving temperature 50 to 55. It says drink fresh. That was a surprise, drink fresh.
I wonder how much different it would be fresh compared to this year old, but I like this one. No complaints here.
One of the things I wanted to do was go over the little bit of history on the style, and without getting too long-winded here, it says before the Industrial Revolution, a lack of ways to keep beer cool for a long period of time may have been the starting point of the creation of Old Ale. Low alcohol, highly attenuated beers did not store well without cooling, but sweet, high alcohol beer did. These stored ales took on a much more complex character than the young ales. So they stored those in oak barrels, and it goes on to explain some of the flavors that come from that, and then also that there was a practice of blending younger beer with the older, and that's another style of old ale where they blend, kind of a meritage with an older, a cuvee, so to speak. And they came up with an ale that had, the characteristics of the old and the new. So that's just a little bit of history of how old ale was created. It also goes into, it'll roll in right perfectly into Doug's selection of stock ales, because that's what they called them. Because when the brewery, at the end of the season, whatever they had left, they'd store it for a year. And those would become the old ales that were in the stock room. And so thus the term stock ale also often is similar to another name for old ale. So on that note, any other comments on Pete's beer? I don't think anybody else has had it, so thank you for introducing us to it. I'm a big fan of Southern Tier. But since we were just talking about the evolution of the stock ales, I think, Dugout, you got a stock ale for us from North Coast, so take it away.
All right, I do. I have, North Coast Brewing, Old Stock Ale. It's from Mendocino, California. It's North Coast Brewing's been around a long time. They've been around, I believe, since '88, so very early on in the craft brewery movement. They have some really solid beers. Very consistent beers, and they've stood the test of time. I mean, just think about beers like Old Rasputin and Red Seal Ale. I mean, those are just iconic beers from, 80s, 90s. But this is old stock. I have, the year is 2015. I had my choice between a 16 and a 15 when I was at the store, and I went older on this one because these do age nice. It's a little bit on the old ale itself for the old stock ale. It's just like a fine port. Old stock ale is intended to be laid down with an original gravity of over 1.100 and a generous hopping rate. Old stock ale is well designed to round out and mellow with age. It's brewed with classic Maris Otter malt, Fuggles, and East Kent Golding hops, and all are imported from England. So this beer pours a pretty sort of hazy brown. There's a little bit of head at the beginning, and then it just dissipates pretty fast. It's you can tell it's just sort of a heavy duty sort of beer. Nose on it, just sort of biscuity rum barrel, almost raisins. And the first sip of this is just sort of an eye opener. It's got a kick, you can tell. This one's sitting in at 12%, 34 IBUs, I believe. Really got a kick to it. It's pretty sweet and malty up front, and sort of fades to a nice earthy bitterness at the end. Just a slight bit of burn from the high ABV, but it really would be a creeper. I mean, it doesn't taste as strong as it is. So I'm just sort of I'm blown away by it. I love this brewery, and I love this beer in particular. It's just really a fine example of an American version of it, if that makes any sense. It's definitely hoppier than the British version you're going to get. But they do use the British hops, so standard type ingredients in the beer. I don't know. Have any of you guys had this at all?
Oh yeah, I've had it. I'm a big fan of it. I'm jealous. I wish I was there. I have been sharing that with you. It's a mainstay that I always go to, and for some reason there always seems to be a few 6-packs left at the end of the, it gets released, and it's kind of one of those things that not everybody knows about, and it flies under the radar, and that's good news for you and I, and probably the reasons you had 2 different vintages available on the shelf to you. But it's definitely a treat. And one thing I wanted to comment on, you mentioned the rum-like note, and I was reading on. I just brewed an old ale, and I did some reading on how to brew an old ale, and I have actually a article in front of me on how to brew old ales. And one of the things I wanted to mention is it says adjuncts such as molasses, dark sugar, treacle, maize, and flake barley are common in this style. It says no matter which or how many you decide to use, keep the adjunct total below about 10% of the total grain bill. But it also says the darker sugars may add a somewhat rum-like note to the beer, which can be quite pleasant. And that's right, spot on as to what you described. And in fact, the recipe I used to brew my old ale just this past weekend included 24 ounces of molasses. So hopefully I'll get some of those rum barrel characteristics in my batch. Very much looking forward to it. And you had mentioned also, even though that this is more of an American, uses the traditional British hops, and Fuggles is the go-to hop for this style. That's what I used and what this particular article recommends. So, yeah, that's old stock is if you ever see this on the shelf, to our listeners, give it a shot. You won't be disappointed. It'll definitely have you feeling pretty good after one beer too, at 12%. But it's just really enjoyable, complex, flavorful, and a little bit of sweetness to it. But highly recommended. Anyone else had this?
Yep, I've had it definitely, and agree wholeheartedly with all the comments. And I saw it on the shelf today as well. I knew that we had already had it purchased, for review, but yeah, it's enticing when you do see it. It's usually there. It's not something that's not usually there. And if it is, chances are you're going to be able to get, both fresh and maybe some older versions as well. So take advantage if you ever see it on your shelf. Pick up it comes in a 4-pack, I believe. Pick one up and take one home.
Yeah, and they have a barrel-aged version that comes in the caged cork version. And they're a little pricey. They're like $20-25 a piece, but boy, they're really fantastic. It's just, it's always a big leap to spend that much money on, like, I don't know if it's a 16.9 or maybe a 22 ounce. I think it's a 16.9, but another one to go get when you have it in your budget. So that's a great brewery. They also brew Old Rasputin. North Coast typically brews winning beers. So thanks for a great beer to bring on the show, Dugout. As always, you made an excellent choice, and you usually do make me jealous with your choices. So you've succeeded with that. Right. So we're going to move on to cheers. Hey, let's just take a break, and everybody hold up your glass, and listeners, let's just do a cheers. Cheers to good beers.
Yeah, right on.
Clink. So we started in Michigan, and our last 2 beers are going to be Michigan beers. And Schmitty, Greg, I think you're going to introduce us to a nice local beer, and it's a local brewery out in Novi, Ascension Brewing. So why don't you tell us about your beer?
That's correct. Ascension Brewing, Novi, Michigan. I think they've only been around for, only a couple of years now. My beer is called the George Brothers Old Ale. It's a collaboration with a great beer store that I've been to out in Livonia called Wine Barrel Plus. And I believe the George Brothers is a reference towards one of the owners there, Mark George, who talked to many times and is a great person out there to show you around his store and his beer cave and all that. So This old ale was aged 1 year in Four Roses bourbon barrels, which is pretty impressive right there. In that, pours a really dark brown. No light whatsoever comes through it. Not a single bit of head retained on it. As soon as I poured it out, it just dissipated right away, but it has great alcohol legs. The lacing on the glass just sticks, right halfway up the glass as you swirl it around there. I've let this sit out for like 30 minutes to warm up, but the aromas I'm getting off of it are dark breads, dark fruits such as like plums, figs, raisins, a lot of vanilla, which I'm associating out of that bourbon barrel, toffee, caramel. As I take a sip, a lot of the same, what I just described as the aroma. It comes across boozy, but it drinks so smooth. It's hard to believe it's 12.5%, but after a glass of this, you're definitely going to know. But this was an excellent pickup for me. I think I've had this for about a year. I think they probably brewed this shortly after they opened. So, yeah, excellent offering. It comes in a 500 milliliter bottle. It was heavily waxed topped. I could tell you that. It took me a while to carve that off to get it open.
You had to get out your lightsaber.
Just about, right? So, but yeah, I mean, this is fantastic. I would buy a bunch of these in a heartbeat. And
so
I don't know if they're
collaboration with a local outlet, a retailer. Is it only available there at the retailer?
Good point. Yes, as far as I know, this was only offered at Wine Barrel Plus in Livonia, which is, anybody local listening is on Plymouth Road. So as far as I can tell, yes, that's the only place I've seen it, and of course the only place I've purchased it. So, yeah, I believe they even still have some there. The last time I was in there, so I can't say that for 100% certainty, but at least the last time I was there, it definitely was sitting around. So, but definitely one of those that could sit on your shelf for a few years and mellow out even more, and maybe be even better. I don't know. But it's certainly a great offering. Great job by Ascension.
This is pretty fresh then, what you have.
I'm guessing it's at least 2 years old. Tell you, there was no bottle dates whatsoever that I could tell, or even a bottle number. I'd have to look a little bit closer, but from what I saw, I didn't see any dating or stamping or whatever. So, yeah, it tastes fresh, but I'm sure it's got a little bit of age on it. So, are they still there?
So I'm looking at the Wine Barrel Plus site, and it looks like they sell barrels. Yeah,
I do believe you're right. Yeah.
Me and JR just purchased a couple of freshly dumped whiskey barrels, and as he mentioned, he just brewed an old ale last weekend, which is he's preparing to put into the barrel after he empties his first batch of beer out of the barrel. It'll be fun to have a taste of an old ale coming out of this whiskey barrel. I'd like to taste what you just had.
It is fantastic. Fantastic.
Are they still there, JR, Doug?
It might be just you and I.
No, I'm still here. Sorry, I was on mute. Keeps the noise down. But yeah, I've been to Wine Barrel Plus quite a few times, and Mark there is quite a character. Yeah, I like buying stuff from those guys.
I'd like to go there.
Pretty easy to get to. It's right between Middle Belt and Merriman on the south side of Plymouth, so can't really miss it. And everybody's in there. Everybody that works inside there is very helpful, and will definitely point you in the right direction wherever you need to go. So great offering of beer and wine, and like you said, selling barrels and cigars if you're into that too. So.
Well, yeah, and I want to give those guys a shout out because they have a homebrew section with homebrew supplies, and they even had Fresh Galaxy hops, which are pretty hard to come by these days. So they kind of fly under the radar, but I know the gentleman that runs the home brewing supply department. His name escapes me. For all I know,
George?
It might even be Mark. I think it might. Is it Mark?
Mark is the you usually see him up front a lot.
Okay. Well, I can't remember who the guy was running the homebrew department, but he was a really nice guy and actually invited me to brew on the Saturday. He said he had 4 or 5 guys coming out to the store to brew at the store. So what a cool story. You know, they sell craft beer. They invite people to brew. They got brew supplies there. They're open late. Really a pretty cool spot. And they actually have like a cave that you go in. If you shop there often, you accrue like punches on your card, and you can get like hard to get beers that normally truck chasers are going after as
true.
Your rewards for going in. So really didn't expect to be plugging these guys, but I have had great experiences there with those guys. So if you're local, go ahead and pay them a visit. Maybe you can pick up a bottle of this. And the next guy I'd like to just recognize is Adam Zapp, the owner of Ascension. He's a really good guy. He spoke at my class at Schoolcraft. He gives back to his community, and he makes excellent beers. They have growlers too out there, which I love. But they make some excellent beers. And recently, the DACBE, the Detroit Area Craft Beer Enthusiasts, which is a Facebook group, raised, I believe it was $16,000 for Toys for Tots. And Adam has a branded bus for the brewery, like an old converted school bus painted up with Ascension Brewing on it. And he loaded up his bus. They went to Toys R Us with all the money that the group raised, and they purchased. They just showed a video of people like wiping off shelves and stuff and putting it into their carts, and they purchased $16,000 worth of toys for the kids. And Adam helped a lot with that and provided his bus and had a big shindig at the brewery, and it's a really feel-good story, and great to see a local brewery, giving back to the community like that. So just wanted to say, really good spot there. And if you ever go there, you got to get the bacon board. And if you don't know what I mean, you just got to go there and check it out.
You had me at bacon.
Exactly. It's a appetizer called the bacon board, and it's a real thick pieces of bacon with different toppings on them, and it's just to die for. And great. Nothing goes better with beer than bacon, or nothing goes better with anything but bacon. So.
That's true there.
So thanks very much for sharing that, and that was a great story about Wine Barrel Plus and about Ascension, and we're glad to have that beer featured on here, Greg. Really appreciate you sharing that with us.
Absolutely. Cheers, guys. Cheers.
Cheers. So from one Michigan brewery to another, I am going to have our grand finale of the evening. Certainly those of us locally here in Michigan, this will be no stranger to any of us, but maybe some of our listeners have never heard of the coveted 4D, Fourth Dimension Old Ale by Coonan Brewing Company. Always one of our favorite breweries, as we've mentioned many times. I'm certain that this has probably been on a previous episode or two, but I don't care. There's no way we could not include it in an Old Ale episode as one of the OG Old Ales that we all know and love. So, Uncle Pete, I'm really sorry that you couldn't be here in person with me to share this, because this is a 2013, but I will be stumbling through my words even more when I'm finished with this.
You're on your own, buddy.
Yep. So I'll fly solo on this. It's a 2013. On the label it says World Beer Cup Gold Medal 2010. Certainly well deserved. And there's another medal that I can't read. It's probably a GABF or who knows what it is. Medals aside, we know how great this beer is. It's one of my all-time favorites. They have the 4D and the Bourbon Barrel 4D. It's one of the few beers that local southeastern Detroit people, there's always a debate over is it better bourbon barrel age or non-bourbon barrel age, and that's a great thing when you can brew a beer and it can stand on its own. They're both unbelievably fantastic. So I just poured mine. There's almost no head on it, and it doesn't matter. It's really, really dark, closer to black than brown, but there's no really very little head on this. It's a 2013. Carbonation is not its forte, but when I smell this compared to, not a knock on the Third Coast, they're two different beers, but this one, the dark fruits, the raisins, the figs, the plums, they are overwhelming in the aroma. And you can smell a little bit of alcohol there. It's a pretty strong beer. Let's go ahead and take a sip. Oh man, and it's just loaded with unbelievably good flavor. It's the mouthfeel is medium to full-bodied. It's thick but not too thick. It's just unbelievably flavorful, bursting with dark fruits and toffee, nuts, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of everything. It's almost indescribable. But fortunately, this beer's been pretty scarce the last few years, but fortunately they're having their winter solstice in, I believe, just another 2 weeks, 2 weekends from now. So really soon. So local people, get your butt over there, and this is your chance to get some 4D. They are releasing some, but it's amazing. It's amazing. Just about anything I can think of here. I'm tasting black currant. I'm tasting blackberry, vanilla, leather, tobacco, just about everything you can imagine. It's just a really, really, maybe a little almond or nutty, some toffee, some caramel.
This is a very high ABV, right?
I don't know. I don't think it listed on the bottle. Let me see. Oh, 13.5.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's strong, but it's not the alcohol doesn't overwhelm anything. There's so much good flavor in this that you almost forget that you're drinking something so strong. It's almost like drinking like a brandy or a cognac. It's that level of sophistication and complexity. It's just
in
really,
a smaller
really good.
bottle, doesn't it?
It's a 12-ounce bottle, and thankfully, anything bigger would be a butt kicker. But this is a beer that I've taken a few sips out of this. I'm going to savor this probably for an hour and a half. If it wasn't so cold outside, I'd go up and light a cigar. That's this kind of beer. It's a sipper, and it's just it's unbelievably good. It gets huge ratings. Everybody loves it. I highly recommend, if you're within 3 states of Michigan, log on to you'll probably have to go to their Facebook page, because as much as we love Coonan, there's always seems to be hiccups. We call it Coonan being Coonan, but nobody can argue the quality of the great brews that they produce. But if you go on their Facebook site, it does have details on there. I believe you have to log on and order online, and then you go pick it up on the weekend before Christmas. I think the solstice is the 20th, so it's right around that date. But honestly, anybody listening before that date, log on. If you can drive to Coonan and pick these beers up, it's worth the trip.
I remember, JR. I seem to have a recollection. I'm blowing off the cobwebs here now, but this past summer at the Summer Beer Fest, didn't we hang out with these guys at their station, and they were whipping up some 4D and some mixology of 4D and some other things back there, you and I?
I wasn't at the Summer Beer Fest this year. I was 2 years ago we were, and I think what you might be thinking of is 2 fall festivals ago. We actually interviewed. This is 2 falls ago, so yeah. Wow, Dugout was there. The 3 of us beer nuts were there. Me, Pete, and Doug, and we interviewed Brett Coonan on our phones, and somehow lost the recording. I think I hit the wrong button, and I thought I was hitting record, and I stopped the recording or something, and it never came through. We were going to make an episode out of it, but it's an epic story.
And we were mixing Bourbon Barrel 4D with Cherry Oat Brewing.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. Oh, God.
And we were talking to the Coonan brothers, and they were giving us all these ideas on what to do. Oh, yeah, do this, and we'd go over and take their recommendations. That was a great day, and it's probably for the best that episode didn't get recorded, because I'm sure there was some stumbling of words in there, but it was a great day and a great experience. And like I said, I mean, sometimes Coonan gets a little PR hit for, we say Coonan being Coonan. They do some, seemingly boneheaded things at times, but you know what? They make fantastic beers, and as long as they concentrate on keeping the quality of their beers up, we can live with the other hiccups. But I've heard that maybe things will be improving. So we all know Double Rice IPA Drippa is a local favorite. We're all hoping that someday that'll be more readily available. Maybe even someday in 4-packs and.
I heard some beer nut that's a brewer friend of ours, might even be on this show with us tonight, made a black Drippa.
Oh, let's hear about that.
Oh, yeah, I did make a black Drippa. It's
all right.
It's a black IPA and brewed with rice solids and or rice sugar solids and New Zealand hops. So looking forward to it. It's fermenting away as we speak. I brewed it on Sunday, and it's going along great.
Oh man!
So looking forward to that one. It's going to dry hop for close to 2 weeks. Probably about 10 to 12 days in dry hop. So it'll be pretty good.
How was your OG?
Pardon?
How was your OG?
I was at 1.072, so we're up there in the 8.5 plus range, if all goes according to plan.
Good luck.
Well, speaking of that, this is probably finally I got a beer to actually, and I had my grains crushed twice to try to get more efficiency, and my old ale topped out at 1.092, so we should be having some pretty strong brews here out of that to go in that whiskey barrel. So we're gonna have a little beer nuts get together, and Greg, you'll certainly be invited to that too to taste some of these treasures.
I'm already salivating and looking forward to it.
You have to demonstrate for Greg and Doug how you purge the oxygen out of the barrel, JR.
I'll let you tell that story.
We were checking our barrels. We took a thief and we tasted our beer after a week in the barrel that we just got, and we were gonna put the cork back in and let it sit for another week. JR says, we should purge the air out. Let's put some CO2 in there. So he comes down and he didn't have a fitting for the tank, so he just pointed the nozzle opening of the CO2 tank into the top of the barrel, the opening. And I no sooner got done saying, open it very slowly, than he opened it, and it was somewhat full blast, and we both got freckled, showered with barrel-aged beer. It was kind of like one of them things, if you took your glasses off, you had this raccoon eyes,
I think there's worse things to bathe in.
Well, there's now my ceiling in my cellar has got a little bit of freckles on the wall too, and but live and learn. Then when I purged my barrel, I was much more careful.
Yeah, we learned. You learned.
Awesome.
But it was fun to brew that, and I did take some steps to make sure I got some good efficiency. I put an extra pound of grain into my recipe to bump it up a little bit, and I had the grains crushed really well, and it was called for a 75-minute boil, and I did an hour and 15-minute boil. So I probably lost a little bit of volume, but I'm going for quality over quantity anyway. So the last thing I want to add here is I wanted to read the bottle of 4D here, because I love this little phrase on the bottle. It says 2013 vintage, fourth D is aged for a minimum of 9 months before being released. This ale has an intense sweet caramel malt flavor and aroma that develops into a toffee toasted marshmallow-like character. Serve at 45 to 55 degrees. It's just a phenomenal beer that if you haven't had it, you have to have it. So anybody listening, if you've never had a Coonan 4D, find your way to Koonin for the winter solstice. You will not be disappointed. It's worth whatever drive you have to make, whatever sacrifice you have to make. I will certainly be there to get my allotment, assuming I can get online and get bottles before they sell out, which shouldn't be a problem as long as you log on and find out when they're doing it. But again, Koonin being Koonin, at this present time, I believe their website is still down. They announced on their Facebook site that they're working on that and that they're putting together an online ordering portal. So we'll see how that goes, but just keep on it and do whatever you got to do to get this beer because it's fantastic. So anybody have anything else to add on Old Ales before we go to Mexico? I just wanted to mention one more beer that I know we've reviewed before in depth, but dear to Dugout and ours heart and mine's heart is Old Peculiar. Is another. It's actually its own style of Old Ale. From what I'm reading, there's 4 different styles, and the Old Peculiar is like famous for being one of those styles. So another great beer, and I could have. It's from the UK. Doug and I sold this for years. I'll let Doug talk about it a little bit because I've been talking too much, and I need to drink some more 4D.
Well, let's hit pause here. I think we've reviewed Old Peculiar.
Oh, we did. I just wanted to. I'm not reviewing it. I just wanted to mention it as an Old Ale.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, just 20 seconds.
All right.
So cut that out, Chris.
Yeah, edit that. So here we go. Theakston's is absolutely near and dear to my heart. Just a beautiful British old ale that has a very distinct flavor to it. It's certainly not for the weak or faint of heart. It's got a nice kick to it, and I've enjoyed plenty of them. So if you ever see it, absolutely pick it up. Pick up the 6er. You'll thank us later if you do.
Yeah, and when Doug and I worked for Scottish in Newcastle, Old Peculiar, I always used to tell everybody whenever I do a sampling of all our beers, I'd save that for last. And I'd tell everybody, I'm like, you're not going to believe how good this beer is, and it's the beer I sell the least of. But it's the beer that I like the most that's in my portfolio. And every time I'd have people sample it, they were blown away. I never could figure out why, for every bottle of Old Peculiars I sold, I could sell like 1,000, maybe 10,000 Newcastle Brown Ales. But that's okay. It was a good kept secret. And again, like Doug says, if you ever see it, buy it. And we have no skin in the game now. We're only recommending it because it's a damn good beer. So, any other comments, Pete or Greg?
No, it's all good.
All good.
All right. Well, thanks again, everybody, for enjoying some beers with us and during another episode of Beer Nuts. We certainly had a good time, and this 4D certainly tasted good. So, cheers, everybody. We look forward to our next episode next week. And as they say in old Mexico City, AMS.
If you like this show, please tell a friend. Please follow us on Twitter and like and share us on Facebook by searching for Christopher Media. You can subscribe to all ChristopherMedia.net shows for free on ChristopherMedia.net. Please make sure to rate and comment on all your favorite Christopher Media shows. Thank you in advance for supporting Christopher Media by clicking on the PayPal button and by clicking through to all the sponsors who support ChristopherMedia.net. Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net, and thank you for listening.
Thank you for visiting ChristopherMedia.net.
Hey, we get it. You don't want to be hearing a Progressive commercial right now, so let us tell you something you do want to hear. No one is funnier than you. People laugh just thinking about the things you've said. I'm laughing at one of them right now. Coworkers repeat your jokes at the office, but they're never as good as when you tell them, and shame on them for trying. There. Don't you feel better? You'll also feel better knowing you could save when you bundle home and auto with Progressive. Although I'm sure you'd have a funnier way to say that. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Bundle discount not available in all states or situations.
Every day, people experience mysteries that challenge the laws of nature, like enjoying a Coke Zero Sugar. It looks, sounds, and tastes delicious. But how does one explain the great taste if there are 0 calories and 0 sugar? Some mysteries are just too mysterious. Coca-Cola Zero Sugar. Unbelievably delicious.
No TV binging session is complete without the unbelievably delicious zero-calorie taste of Coke Zero Sugar.